Welcome to this video on an overview of IELTS General Training Writing. My name is Misty Wilson and I'm the ESL Program Development and Research Manager with IELTSUSA. The writing section of IELTS is different on the academic and general training tests. So this video focuses on the writing section of the general training test. The writing section is 60 minutes long and you'll have two tasks that you respond to. The first one asks you to write a letter in at least 150 words. This is worth 34% of your overall score. The second task asks you to present a point of view, an argument, or an opinion in an essay of at least 250 words. The second task is worth 66% of your overall score. You can organize your time as you wish during these two tasks, but we recommend that you spend 20 minutes on task 1 and 40 minutes on task 2. You're assessed on 4 different criteria in both task 1 and task 2. First is task achievement, and this is how appropriately you're responding to what you're being asked to do, and whether you have met the minimum word count. The second area is coherence and cohesion, and this refers to your organization of ideas and how you've linked your ideas between paragraphs and also between sentences. Lexical resources refers to vocabulary, so how appropriate the vocabulary you are using for that task and the range that you show that you have with vocabulary. And then the final area is grammatical range and accuracy. So two things here: range and accuracy. So what are you showing that you're able to do in terms of grammar, and how accurate are you in your use of grammar? Now, IELTS examiners who assess the writing have descriptors that they use to help them evaluate what band a particular writing sample is. And so you'll see on this example here, this is a public version of those descriptors that IELTS examiners use. And for the 4 different areas, you'll see the different band scores here, and the descriptors that kind of describe what that writing shows you're able to do. And you'll notice the A and the GT. A refers to academic and GT refers to general training. So if you don't see A or GT next to it, it refers to both of the tests. Let's take a look at an example of writing task 1. And you'll see a recommendation to spend 20 minutes at the top, and then he gives a situation as well as 3 areas that you need to focus on in your letter. You live in a room in college which you share with another student. However, there are many problems with this arrangement and you find it very difficult to work. Write a letter to the accommodation officer at the college. In the letter, describe the situation, explain your problems and why it is difficult to work, and then say what kind of accommodation you would prefer. Now, you want to make sure that you're writing this in the format of a letter. You don't need to have an address, but everything else should be like a letter would be. And that means that you're using paragraphs, and that you're thinking about the tone or the way that your level of formality in whoever you're writing. And you also want to make sure that you're responding to the bullets. And they've given you 3 different bullets here, and so you want to make sure that you talk about each of these areas. So some advice for writing task 1. Take each bullet and develop that into a paragraph. Be creative. You're going to need to add a little bit of your own ideas as you describe the situation that you're having with your roommate. Make sure that you write more than 150 words, but don't waste your time counting those words. What I would recommend doing is finding an example answer sheet, which you can find on the IELTS.org website, and practice writing on that answer sheet so that you can see what 150 words looks like in your own handwriting. If you're taking the computer delivered test, then there will be a word count for you. Timing is really important. Don't go over 20 minutes. You need the other 40 minutes to respond to task 2 because it's worth more and you're required to write more. Finally, don't use any bullet points, headings, or incomplete sentences. This should be a letter with paragraphing. As you're preparing, practice writing letters to friends or family members and check out examples of responses at IELTS.org/sample tests. Here you can find examples of writings for task 1 and task 2. And in addition to seeing the samples, you can also see examiner comments. And this is great because it'll show you kind of the thought process when an examiner is using that rubric to assess the writing. So I recommend finding some writing samples that are at your goal and reading those and reviewing them. So task 2, if you remember, is more of a traditional academic essay where you're given a situation that you need to give your opinion about, arguing a point, presenting a particular point of view. The rubric is very similar. The only difference is that instead of task achievement, we have task response. And that just refers to your ability to formulate and develop a position in relation to a given prompt, and being able to do that within at least 250 words. Coherence and cohesion, lexical resources, grammatical range and accuracy are the same. Let's take a look at an example of a prompt for task 2. Here we have, in Britain, when someone gets old, they often go to live in a home with other old people where there are nurses to look after them. Sometimes the government has to pay for this care. Who do you think should pay for this care, the government or the family? Give reasons for your answers and include any relevant examples from your own knowledge or experience. Write at least 250 words. So important to pay attention to this prompt and to think about what it's asking you to decide on. So here you're going to be writing one of 2 essays. Either you think the government should pay for the care or the family should pay for the care. It doesn't really matter what you believe personally. You might believe that it's the family's responsibility, but as you're thinking about it when you're preparing to write, you can think of some more examples for why the government should be responsible. Since you only have a little bit of time to decide, try to choose a position that you feel like you have some more examples or experiences to speak to. So advice for writing this essay. In order to write, in writing an essay, you want to make sure that you kind of have 3 areas in your essay. One is the introduction, and the introduction might be just a short couple of sentences, maybe 2 or 3, that presents the topic and gives your opinion. Then in the body of your essay, that would be anything after that introduction, you're trying to write 2 to 3 body paragraphs. Each body paragraph should begin with what we call a topic sentence, a sentence that communicates the main idea of that paragraph. So what you want to decide is, first, do I think the government or family should be responsible? Then the next decision is, okay, I need 3 reasons why the government or family should be responsible. And then each body paragraph would focus on one of those reasons. Then you'll spend the paragraph supporting that point of view. And in the conclusion, you might only have time for a couple of sentences, maybe just 2 sentences, where you remind the reader what the topic was and what point you were trying to make in the essay. So our goal here is 4 to 5 paragraphs, with the body paragraphs being the larger, more fully developed paragraphs. So as I mentioned before, write about what's easiest. It doesn't matter even if you agree. Good timing, just like with task 1, is really important. So make sure you're not spending more time on task 1 than you need for task 2. And spend time planning before you write. A rough guide to timing might be 5 minutes preparing, 30 minutes writing, and then 5 minutes checking your essay. But it's important that you spend time practicing writing. So as you prepare, make sure that you do have some time where you're practicing under a timed environment, and that you're building your vocabulary. Build your vocabulary through reading and keeping track of those new words, as we mentioned in the reading video. Learn what mistakes you make most often, and then learn how to fix those mistakes. You don't have a lot of time to revise your essay. So if you're only going to use 5 minutes, you need to be prepared to look for your most common mistakes, the ones that really get in the way of communicating meaning. And then finally, another suggestion is to take the IELTS Progress Check, which is an official IELTS practice test. I really like this because not only does it go over all 4 skills on the IELTS and give you an indicative score, so it gives you a score that shows you this is probably what you would make if you took the IELTS right now, but for writing you also get feedback from an IELTS marker. So this is really invaluable so that you can prepare and know how to focus your time to prepare. The IELTS progress check is around $45, and you can check out this site to find out more about it. Finally, make sure you check out our test taker IELTS prep page and email us if you have any questions.